What if the most profound story of human resilience wasn't actually told by a person, but by death itself?
Mm.
It's a really captivating idea, right? And it's absolutely central to our deep dive today. We're looking at Markus Zusak's acclaimed historical novel, The Book Thief, which came out back in 2005.
A phenomenal book.
Definitely. And our source for this is a really insightful, kind of soulful review. It gets into the book's, unique narrative, its emotional weight, and how it explores the human condition so deeply.
Yeah,
So our mission today, to pull out the most important bits of insight from that review, basically give you a shortcut to understanding why this book hits home for so many people.
that was good.
Okay, so speaking of unique, let's unpack this. The review really singles out the narrator choice, calls it the novel's most striking element.
Oh, absolutely.
A bold move, innovative even, a real twist.
It is, because the narrator of The Book Thief is, yes, death. But the review points out something fascinating. Death isn't portrayed as, terrifying.
Right, not the usual Grim Reaper.
Not at all. The review describes death as this: grim, yes, but also surprisingly poetic observer. Compassionate, even.
Compassionate. That's interesting.
Yeah, narrating Lysel's story with this reflective, almost philosophical tone, it gives this totally unconventional angle on mortality, on war, and importantly, on the resilience of the human spirit.
So it's more than just a gimmick.
Much more. The review suggests death's weariness. It's not just style. It implies that even this, eternal being is sort of overwhelmed by human cruelty,
Wow.
but also finds this strange affection for our resilience. It's like death is learning about humanity, the good and the terrible, right alongside Lysel.
That's a really powerful idea. It forces you, the listener, to see World War II through this completely different kind of haunting perspective. Not just history, but something else.
Exactly, a fresh lens.
So, okay, at the heart of it all is Liesel Memminger. She's a young German girl sent off to live with foster parents, Hans and Rosa Huberman,
Right, in the fictional town of Mulching.
all set against this backdrop of Nazi Germany, the bombings, just terrifying times.
Mm-hmm.
And Liesel's main action, the thing that gives the book its title, is she starts stealing books
Yeah.
from Nazi book burnings, even from the mayor's wife's library. But the review digs into the why, right? What's her motivation?
Well, the review really emphasizes it's not about rebellion, not in the
Mhm.
usual sense.
Yeah.
It's more like this insatiable hunger.
A hunger.
Yeah, for knowledge, for comfort. In a world that's just filled with fear, it's profound, really. About the human need for meaning, especially when everything's chaotic.
That makes sense.
And if you think about defiance more broadly, one of the book's huge moments of quiet resistance is when the Hubermans hide Max Vandenberg, a Jewish man, in their basement.
A huge risk.
Immense.
Yeah.
And the friendship that develops between Max and Lysel, despite all that danger,
Yeah.
it just screams courage and that fundamental human need for connection,
Yeah.
especially then.
Such a stark contrast to the hate outside.
Ex-
And that connection, that quiet defiance, it really leads us into the core themes the review pulls out. Exploring humanity in that dark time.
Mm,
One of the biggest is the power of words, language. The review talks about this duality, how words can destroy, but also heal.
absolutely. You see it so clearly. Propaganda is fueling all this hate and dehumanization.
Yeah, the destructive side.
But then Lysel's stolen books, they bring hope, comfort, a shared sense of humanity, even in the basement, in the house. The book itself feels like a love letter to reading, to literature's power.
That's beautifully put. And building on that, there's the theme of death and humanity. Death, as the narrator, is constantly wrestling with how complex people are,
Right. Capable of just monstrous cruelty.
but also incredible tenderness and kindness.
And this is where having death as the narrator really shines, according to the review. It adds this incredible depth to the tragedy.
How so?
Well, it makes you feel each loss personally, not just as a number. Death describes the sky after a bombing, for instance. Not just destruction, but with colors. Like the color of chocolate or lemon. It forces you to see the beauty and the horror at the same time. It's how Zusak uses language, the review notes, to kind of reframe how we see war.
Wow, that's quite something. And we touched on it, but the theme of resistance and compassion,
So
the
important.
Hubermans hiding Max, that quiet defiance against the Nazis.
A huge act. And the bond between Max and Lysel, it really shows that courage, that need for connection we talked about, even in the absolute worst circumstance.
Then there's the theme of innocence lost, which feels almost inevitable in a war story.
True.
Liesel's story definitely shows that loss of childhood innocence, War forces kids to grow up way too
It
fast.
does, but the review points out a kind of paradox here with Lysel. Her loss of innocence is tangled up with her gaining this deep understanding of words, of their power.
Ah, okay, so it's not just loss.
Exactly. It's like her childhood might be stolen, yeah, but something else emerges from that, a different kind of wisdom, resilience, specifically through language, through books. It's growth through adversity in a really unique way.
That's a fantastic insight. It takes that common theme and really roots it in her specific journey. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Markus Zusak's writing style. The review calls it lyrical, experimental.
Emotionally charged, definitely.
Yeah. And his use of metaphor, personification, especially how death sees the world, it gives it this dreamlike but also very grounded feeling.
It does. And the review mentions those interruptions from death, too. The commentary, the foreshadowing,
Right, just asides.
they can feel a bit unusual at first, maybe jarring for some readers,
Yeah.
but the review argues they ultimately add to that haunting atmosphere. They're not just quirks.
What do they do then?
They reinforce death's presence, right?
Alright.
That inevitability hanging over everything. It shapes your emotional journey as a reader. And the review sees this unique narration as a huge strength, that fresh lens again,
Makes sense.
and the emotional impact. It's massive. Those relationships are so tender, so heartbreaking. Liesel and Hans, her foster father,
Oh.
or Liesel and Max. And the moral complexity, too. Characters aren't simple. Rosa Huberman, for example, seems so gruff at first.
But reveals this deep affection.
Exactly. And the book looks at the internal conflicts of ordinary Germans under the Nazi regime. Those small choices people made and how they rippled out. It's very layered.
Okay, but no book is perfect for everyone. The review does mention, transparently, some minor criticism.
Sure.
Some people might find the pacing a bit slow in places, especially the middle section, maybe.
That's fair. It takes its time building the world.
And the poetic language, those interruptions from death,
Yeah.
they might not be everyone's cup of tea.
Which, raises the question, how do these sort of minor points stack up against the book's overall impact and reception, which has been huge?
Well, the review's final verdict is pretty clear. A resounding 9.5 out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah. It sums up The Book Thief as powerful, unforgettable, blending tragedy, beauty, and hope in that dark time.
A tough balance to strike.
For sure. So it's offering you not just a survival story, but this really poignant meditation on, well, the enduring power of words and stories themselves.
So who should pick it up?
The review suggests if you're into historical fiction, literary novels, or maybe even books about books, this is a must-read. It's one of those stories that kind of sticks with you, lingers long after you finish the last page.
I'd agree with that, definitely.
So, wrapping this up, what does it all mean? We've talked about The Book Thief showing the power of words for destruction, but also for healing, and these profound acts of cruelty alongside kindness, all during this incredibly complex time.
Mm-hmm.
So, thinking about Lysel's story, about death's narration, what does this deep dive maybe encourage you, the listener, to consider about how literature shapes our understanding of history of the human spirit?
Yeah, and maybe.
Yeah.
How might those quiet acts of defiance, of compassion we saw in the book, how might they inspire your own perspective on the stories we choose to listen to embrace today?